Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Haley Rowe. I'm a marketing and sales coach and strategist for online wellness professionals, coaches, and service providers. And on this show, we give you marketing, sales, time management, and mindset tips to help you grow your business, go overcome the social media overwhelm. And today's guest is a very special guest. Her name is Kirsten Lindquist. She has, over the last 20 years, connected on a personal level with more than 150 million viewers on QVC and network news through confident vulnerability and the curated ability to tell a story that makes you feel. Her skillful communication drives more than $250 million a year in direct sales through her presentations and on air and online. She's an Emmy award-winning certified health coach and growth strategist, pairing her training in wellness and with a faith-filled life. And as a keynote speaker, she is a visionary strategist. She speaks to individuals and organizations about surrendering stress, along with other mindset and science topics. She delivers techniques that empower high-performing humans to gain more confidence and create a space for joy. So I am so excited to have you here. And I wanted to have you here because you are an example of someone who's been successful in the wellness field, and you did it in a way that felt authentic to you. So tell me a little bit about, first of all, how did you even get into QVC? Tell us more.
Oh boy, how much time do we have? I was in network news, and Haley, thanks so much for having me. And I'm so blessed to be on your podcast and be able to share. It's truly my goal is to be able to give back and serve and share, and that has kind of where I've been my entire life. I was in news for quite a while, and it started to not feel great, and made the change to QVC. 14 years ago now. Just it felt like coming home. It was a place where I could still tell stories. I was an Emmy award-winning journalist. I loved that piece of news. And when I got to QVC, I was able to share myself, share stories, and find a real joyful place. So it was 6 months of auditions. There was 9,000 people. They picked 2 of us, and I was blessed to be one of them. And I made that place my home for a very, very long time. Became quite successful. Had the #1 show on the network called Saturday Morning Q on Saturdays for 10 years. And you mentioned some of the stats there. And I felt very blessed to be able to sell from a place of authenticity and vulnerability. I always say I bled on air. I still do. I'm still at QVC from time to time now. And that's really what worked. I live a very faith-filled life. I was called to missionary work with my 3 young children in 2023, and we left for a few months, left QVC, took a big step. They didn't have a sabbatical program in place. And I said, we have to go. They said, no. I said, then I'm going to quit. And they said, okay, we'll figure it out. So we did. We jumped and we went to the mission field for a while. I came back and really felt that the Lord was saying, listen, I need you to go hard into wellness, use your skills in health science and biblical truth. So over the next year or so, I transitioned out of full-time as an employee at QVC into full-time health coaching, wellness, writing. And now I am back at QVC just about once or twice a week, but only with health science products. And it's such a wonderful, wonderful space to be in.
How cool. I love that. So now you get the best of both worlds, and you get to sell the things on QVC that you want to sell.
Yeah.
And, tell me a little bit about that transition period, because so many of the listeners are working a full-time job and starting a wellness business. And you mentioned you kind of transitioned. So tell me, what were some of the things that you didn't realize in that transition that were challenging for you, and how you kind of started to work through those?
I have 2 biggest lessons from that time period, and it started in end of 2023, me thinking that I needed to do this and wondering how on earth could I possibly do it. I am the primary breadwinner of a family of 5, always have been. And we had no evidence that we could survive if I quit my job, other than this true feeling of the Lord saying, I need you in health science. I need you in biblical truth full time. Not that I couldn't do that at QVC, because I grew the wellness brand there. So I grew all of the wellness products we have and the whole division at QVC over about 10 years. I went back to school to become a health coach while I was a full-time host there at QVC. And so that's what kind of led to that. The two big takeaways, though, were every single door that closes is a gift, as opposed to looking at all of these doors that close and there's a no here, there's a no here, or I'm leaving my job. This is so scary. Every closed door is directing you, funneling you into the specific area we are supposed to be. So I have been praising the Lord for every no and every closed door, because it leads me closer to where He wants me to be. And also, whereas many people feel like they have to know the path. Like, we're type A, overachieving, many, I'm sure, women who are listening, moms who are taking care of everybody. We're like, okay, we're going to figure this out. We're going to have the steps and we are going to execute on that plan. And I have always been that way, been working a full-time job since I was 14, just about. And I had to sit back and say, I do not know what's going to happen tomorrow. Today, I'm going to take this step because God said this. And as soon as you take that step, He really opens up the door to the next step and the light turns on to the next step. And I have become, over the last year, as I've done that, so excited every single morning to see what He does, because I don't know what's going to happen. And every single day it works out.
Yeah, I love that. And I do think that with entrepreneurship, you are signing up for uncertainty. And I think that's the hardest part for people, because you're right. You're not gonna, I need to know how this one, thing is gonna work out and if it's gonna be worth my effort. So how do you overcome that mindset mentality of like, well, I don't know if this thing's gonna be worth my time, so I'm not gonna do it, or I'm going to, overanalyze and try to get all the information first before I take that step. Like, what would you say to somebody like that? Because that is a mentality that comes up a lot.
So for me, I tend to do everything. I tend to, so I quit QVC. Actually, I quit in July of 2024, and they really truly wanted me to stick around and help out for a couple more months. So we worked it out, and I was part-time there for a while. And then finally, I didn't actually have my last farewell show until February 6th of 2025. And as that date approached, every single thing that came into my inbox for like the next 6 months, I was saying yes to. I was like, yes, okay, I'll do anything, I'll do anything, I'll do anything, because of that fear of lack, that fear of not having a paycheck. So I really didn't stop and analyze. I was just saying yes to everything. And there is some, I would say, wisdom in that, because I was at a time in my life, and I still am, 46 years old. Let's try something new. Let's be surprised by life while we're taking care of our family. But now I've had to sit back and actually analyze a little bit more, really get focused on what I want to put out in the world, what is worth my time, and not be so connected to the paycheck piece of it. Really be more connected to the purpose piece of it, because I've learned over the last year that as long as I am following truly very focused in my purpose, the money will come. And I know that we hear that, and I know that people roll their eyes and go, yeah, you don't know my bills. Believe me, I know your bills because I've had them too. But it is so true. And not trying to figure it out yourself, not trying to go, here's how this is going to work out, so I'm going to do it this way, but sitting back and questioning, am I lockstep in my purpose? And have that written out, define it. Really have it written out. How do I act in my purpose? And if the opportunity is aligned with that, then you say yes. And if it's not, no matter how big the paycheck is or how promising you think it might be, you say no.
Yes. So you brought up a couple good points in there. Number one, sometimes in the beginning, that is going to be a season of yes in your business, because you want to get out there, you want to see what you like, you want to test things. And then there may come a time where you get more clear on your criteria, sort of like you did, where if this is aligned with my purpose and my values, I say yes. If not, I have to start saying no to some things, because at some point there comes a time where you have to put some boundaries in place, and so on and so forth. So I love how you've identified how you decide if it's a yes or no, and it's authentic to you and it aligns with your purpose and values. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, since you do have this QVC background and everything that you're doing is really, even health coaching is helping someone change their behaviors, which is kind
Mhm.
of like selling someone as well, because you're
Right.
selling them on a new habit or changing something. So when it comes to sales, how do you, for people who are afraid of, like, I don't want to be pushy, that's just not me, I hate sales, how do you start to shift to enjoying sales? Like, what would you say to them?
I say you work from what you know and what you feel. You're not putting on a hat of now I'm salesperson and here's the product and I really want you to buy it, and having your list of, all of the pros and cons and all of the benefits and the pricing and really being connected to that. Know that, look at it, throw it away. Because what you're doing is you're connecting. There is this quote that says, we buy to fill a need, and that need can be filled by the validation of another human. So when you think about every single person, is why they're buying anything is to fill a need. And we can figure that out in our brains, right? Like food, okay, obviously we need to eat. But what about jewelry? What about clothing? What about a lamp? It gives that person a feeling when they buy it. But that same feeling can come from sitting with a friend and talking. That same feeling can come from being in a room with somebody and being validated, having your feelings validated. So if you go into sales in that manner, you're not there to sell something. You're there to validate their existence, to listen to them. And when I would teach this at QVC as well to other new hosts, it was always like, okay, but I'm talking to a camera. Like the person isn't there. They can't talk back to me. I can't validate their feelings, but you can, because you've had those same feelings. We are all having the same human existence. You know exactly. We always call her she because most of the people who buy from us are female. We know what she's going through. We know because we've been there. We've lost people that we love. We have been in relationships that have been hard. We have been unhappy with ourselves. We have gone through shame and joy. So, as long as you're tapping into how you would feel and trying to validate the people that you're talking to, not sell to them, you're going to be successful.
Yeah. And, QVC moves so quickly. How do you, like, get across? Because this is the other thing I hear is like, well, I don't know how to say it in a way that's clear or concise, or I get too wordy, or I get all wrapped up in the weeds. So what would you say to somebody who's like, well, I don't know how to phrase it or word it, and they get tripped up with that?
Yeah, very true. Every single sell or presentation that you do, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on QVC, whether it's Instagram, whatever it is I would call it a versus sell, like this versus that. So when you have a product or you're selling something, the first thing that you do is you write down when you're going through it, why would they buy this as opposed to something else? And usually it's why would they buy this? Like, why would I buy the iPhone as opposed to the Samsung phone? I'm never going to mention the Samsung phone because I'm selling the iPhone. But my entire presentation and how I structured is going to be, you want to buy this as opposed to this because they have a certain amount of money, and why are they going to spend it on your product as opposed to the other one? So that's where you start. Structure your sell in a this versus that, and keep it to your top 3 main selling points. Make it a problem solution. Like, here's the problem and here's how we're solving it. And when you stay within that structure, you're spot on.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and a great exercise for everybody to do is to write down why your program or offer compared to something else. Was there a time on QVC when something went really well, or you like realized you cracked a new code, or figured out a new way of selling that really clicked for you?
I think for me, the more successful I got was in every time I thought I shouldn't say this, I said it. QVC is a different world though. However, I will say social media selling is becoming very much more like that. Um, I as horrible as it sounds, the times that I would ramble on about a story about something or I would get emotional over something, those are the times when I made the biggest connection with the audience and I was the most successful. And I wasn't trying to be. And often in those times, I was actually trying to hold back. And I just kind of allowed the Holy Spirit to work through me and me be able to just kind of give into it, whether it be tears, whether it be a story, whether it be hysterical laughing. There were times that I've been on air with a guest and we just kind of go off on a tangent and we're hysterical laughing and things are selling the best, even though we're not even talking about the product.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Yeah. So, and what about objections? So, a lot of people think, oh, well, people aren't buying my product because it's too expensive, or they say I'm not going to have time to use it. And a lot of sales trainings will say, well, you should say this in response to this objection. But if you are wanting to sell authentically, sometimes that doesn't feel right for someone, like it just feels out of place or it's not the way you would say it. So how do you navigate? Any tips for like how do you kind of coach through the objections?
I think that in the way that I do it, I don't actually vocally see the objections. I know at QVC real time if people are buying or they're not buying, like what's working, what's not working. So when nothing's going to beat a good price and a good offer and the right timing, because these are the things that you're not in charge of. You're not in charge of the timing. You're not in charge of what's going on in the news and how what the world's doing. You're and depends on if it's your product or not, whether you're in charge of the pricing and the timing. I never feel like too high of a price is ever a valid objection. People are always willing to spend. You just have to convince them that they're going to spend their money on this. And I don't think that too high of a price is really a thing. But maybe it's not the right time for them in that. So always going back to what is the one thing about this product that is going to work for this person and returning to that in your problem solution or your persuasion. Because I think if you're going down the path of, oh, it's just too expensive, that's why they don't like it, you're not on the right path. It's something else.
Yeah, definitely. What when it comes to selling health and wellness coaching, what has worked the best for you as far as whether it's platform or something that you do that has led to a lot of clients? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Showing up as me, not showing up overly, pretty's not the right word, but overly polished, being very vulnerable I do an email list, which I connect with really great. Like I love that. I send out 2 emails a week that just are short but very authentic. A lot of what's going on in my life. The ones that are more personal always get the most comments and the most traction, obviously, but never forcing it. Showing up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. YouTube's a big space for me right now. And to a lesser extent, TikTok and Substack. Showing up as me and not trying to always be perfect and do the highlight reels. And I think that we're learning that authenticity is a bigger driver than perfection. There's a place for that because there is a piece, especially at QVC and in what I do, that they want. They want to have the type of life that you show is good, but they also want to understand that you have the trials and the struggles and the shame and the grief and the guilt just like they do.
Yeah. Do you have an example of, because sometimes, I guess, do you have an example of something that was a vulnerable share for you, but also not like, what's the difference between this is vulnerable and helpful, and this is vulnerable and just not, maybe I'm not ready to share it, or maybe it doesn't land with the audience. Like, do you have a kind of an example so people can wrap their head around what you mean?
Yeah, I never try and force it. I took on a new brand cuz I do in my practice, I talk a lot about adaptogens. I'm a big fan of certain supplements at certain times and I'm a big fan of adaptogens. And so this first post that I ever did for a brand that they're like, oh, let's just try it out and see what happens. And it really felt authentic to me to go on and just be like, hey, I am just like you in that there are times in my life, even as somebody who's super fit, dialed into health, all of those things. I just want somebody to freaking give me a pill to make this feeling go away, to make me not hurt like this, to fix this. Like I'm just like you, even though with my coaching clients and when I get on TV, I'm talking all about healthy lifestyle and how this is going to change your world. I'm just like you. I just want a pill to fix it. So that's how I started that post. And it was one of the most successful posts that I've done in a really, really, really long time. And I could have easily been like, hey guys, I'm so excited. There's this new brand that I'm connecting with. And I would have still been very personable and vulnerable and not salesy. But when I turned it to here's how I'm feeling, and I know you feel a lot like this. Now, understanding, especially with my platform, I'm going to probably get a lot of pushback. Somebody's going to be like, how dare you say that? Or, oh, boohoo for you, that type of thing. But understanding there's just as many people out there who are going to be touched like that. Same thing. I went through endometriosis and I shared like my scars, and I got a lot of pushback from people saying that that was inappropriate. But I also got so many DMs from women going, I needed to see that. Can you help me? So kind of just trusting yourself. And then also understanding there's always going to be the naysayers, and you have to just kind of know that even if you touch and help one person, you've done your job.
Yes, even if you've helped one person, I love that, because a lot of people are building their following. They don't have a huge following, and they might be like, well, why bother? No one's
Yeah.
really paying attention. But there's always that one silent viewer that may not even engage with you, who you helped today. And that can be a great thing to start, building up that relationship with your community. So, Kirsten, this is great. Where can people connect with you, find you online, all the things?
Yeah, I'm Kirsten, Kerstin, Lindquist, Lindquist, on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram and YouTube. YouTube's my biggest one these days. And then I have a podcast called Stressed, Strest. It's all health science and biblical truth, which is also on YouTube and all podcast platforms. And we drop a new episode twice a week. Same name for my website, Kirsten-Lindquist. And I do that newsletter, which is all health science and biblical truth, twice a week.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. And for anybody listening, the freebie of the day, since we talked about having an email list, having a newsletter, is my free From Crickets to Clients series, helping you with setting up a freebie funnel that you can use on repeat to nurture your audience and make offers to your audience and build that relationship with them. So that's available at haleyrowe.com/live event, all one word. And thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.